everybody. Welcome to Lattes on My Mind. What are we going to be talking about today, Felina?
Today we're going to be talking about David Paulides and the missing 411. So grab your lattes and join us for the journey.
David Paulides, huh?
Paulides. Yeah, David Paulides. Are you excited today, Hannah?
I am, because I love conspiracy theories. I'm not an expert at them, but
No. Yeah.
the way they make me feel as if they could be real, that's the fun thing.
Well, and some of them have very valid arguments.
Right.
And it's the evidence lines up too
much to be like a coincidence.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
The evidence lines up too much. And like you were saying, it's not a coincidence.
Yeah. And part of me is like, I don't necessarily believe them, but part of me is like, they could be real.
Yeah. Like I said, I think I mentioned that in the intro podcast. I'm not necessarily gonna believe every single one of them, but it's so interesting to learn about.
Some of them hold some weight.
Some of them, it really is like, there's too many coincidences
To just
ignore it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm
It's spooky.
And I think that's why I like it, because it could be real.
Exactly.
But you don't know necessarily if it is. Like, it cannot be proven.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you sit on the edge of your seat almost.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people don't believe a lot of conspiracies because it's so out there, and it's almost like you have to have such an open mind to believe these conspiracies. A lot of them, but you're not willing to open up your mind that much. And it's mostly subconscious that you're not willing to.
Yeah.
It's not like you're purposefully saying, "Oh, I'm not going to believe that because I don't want to." But it's like, for instance, aliens. Oh, well, aliens aren't real. Then the government comes out, aliens are real. And it's like, what?
Well, and that's the thing is okay, some of them are absolutely crazy. That are obviously
Yeah.
okay, you have to really stretch it.
And we'll talk about one of those.
But then some people know their stuff so well.
They're so in it. And then they seem so crazy. But it's like, no, I'm just passionate about this.
Yeah.
And nobody is listening to me. And I feel like I have to yell and scream it all the time.
It's so interesting. I'm fascinated by this. I
Yeah.
need to. It makes me feel as if it's a horror film.
And you do not
This
like
is
horror
my. I don't
films.
like horror films, but in a good way. You know what I mean? I think that's the thrill of it is the rush you get from it, because you're like, ooh, what's out there?
And ooh, what if and if you've ever now I'm really gonna sound crazy, but if you've ever experienced something of the not supernatural, but of the conspiracy,
or
we're gonna say this term, flesh pedestrians, which is from a podcast that I listen to called Morbid. They're awesome. Go check
Shout
them
out.
out. I think they even got the term from a listener who wrote in.
Because you can't say it.
Because you can't say it.
Okay, I'm not gonna say it. I'm scared. See,
Flesh pedestrians. Trigger warning. If you believe in them, you just skip right past this part. Flesh pedestrians are skinwalkers. So moving forward.
Dun-dun.
And now you can listen back to it.
Now we're cursed.
Yeah.
Good job.
Oh no.
Good job, Felina.
But yeah, it's if you have a weird spooky experience, it really does open your mind to a lot of the other conspiracy, and it's just what just happened, and there's no explanations for it.
Sometimes there's not, and that's the thing. It's okay, there's definitely other stuff happening.
For instance,
what,
Hannah? Oh my gosh,
am I gonna be scared?
It's one of those things where it's there's no explanation for it. Okay, I get a call from a friend. His name is Nathan. Shout out. I get a call from a friend. He's watching our friend's house.
No.
Marshall's got a gig. He's at our friend's house alone, and our friend lives kind of in the middle of nowhere. Not in the middle of nowhere, but kind of.
See, that's what scares me about living in the middle of nowhere. You just see shit.
You do just see shit in the middle of nowhere. And you don't You don't know if it's like, it could be a coyote. It could be
yeah.
it could be a deer. It could be a flesh pedestrian. We don't know.
It could be a person. Like, you don't know.
Like,
it could be a person, but why is a person out here? That's what's so freaky, because you're always like, why are they wandering out here at night?
Right. Well, so he was staying at our friend's house, and he couldn't call Marshall. He couldn't call the friend because he didn't want to bother him while he was like out of town and, you know, hanging out with other people. But he calls me. He goes, "Do you have a second?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" I was like,
that's never a good conversation starter.
Thinking like, well, I'm thinking like, oh, he's asking if I'm at Marshall's gig, right? Because, you know, he left something here and he needs to come pick it up. Mm-hmm. You like, whatever. And he was like, I just heard the wildest thing. Like, I'm freaking out right now. I just need to talk to someone. And I was like, what's going on, bud? And he was like, I'm at our friend's house. His name is Thomas. He was like, I'm at Tom's house. And I come in, I set my stuff down. The cat's fine. I take the dog out to go potty. He goes potty. We go back in. And as I'm turning to lock the door, I hear these such heavy footsteps. Like heavy footsteps. Like someone stomping on the wooden walkway. And I was like, oh, close. That's weird. He goes, my first thought, that's close. And really he was like, my first thought was, oh, this is a car driving by. But as I'm locking the door, I'm registering, these are heavy foot stomps. Like someone's stepping. And the dog is looking at the door like, what's happening, you know? And then there's like a chain link fence. He goes, it gets to the point where they reach the chain link fence. They start, and then like in an instant, they're up on the roof and they're running across the roof, and the dog is following the footsteps across like the roof from like, inside the house. Following the footsteps across the roof. He goes, it's not, and I'm like, it could be, he lives in the middle of nowhere. It could be a raccoon, just a really fat raccoon, or a coyote, or, and then he was like, it's not a, he was like, no, it's not that. I don't think an animal could physically stomp that hard to make those heavy footsteps. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he goes, and it didn't sound like hooves. It wasn't like a deer or anything like that. And I was like, oh my gosh. My first thought when he was telling me he heard this, I was like, hang up and call the cops. And then he goes, and in an instant they were on the roof. I was like,
are there mountain lions around here or anything?
Maybe.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
There are where I'm from.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe that, but I don't think there are any around here.
I think they're in Tennessee.
Of like what's heavy and like could jump.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't want it to be
in an instant. Well, because here the thing about it is thinking, and I could just be picturing it wrong, but thinking about his house, there's a certain point where they could be at where they could get like climb up onto the roof. I'm pretty sure his dog has gotten onto the roof before.
Happened pretty fast.
But it happened in an instant. Like there was no scramble up, and where they were at,
he didn't look out. He didn't like look out to see.
He did look out. He peeked out the window.
I would be too scared.
But he's not going out there. No, I'm not going out there.
Heck no.
He's alone.
I would be out of there.
Nowhere.
As soon as I went away, whatever it was, I would be like, take the dogs, the cats. I don't care. I would pack everything up. I would leave that place. I do not care.
I was like, if stuff keeps happening, and like, I even asked him, I was like, what did the dog do? Was he like on edge, or he was like, no, he was just confused. He was just looking at me like, what was that?
That's weird.
And then he was just sitting there. He wasn't, the hair on his back didn't stand up or anything like that. And so it was okay. Come to find out, like 2 days later, Marshall and Tom had a conversation about how Thomas thinks his house is haunted.
You are joking.
I'm not. And he was like, I've never had that happen to me. Whenever Nathan called him, he was like, I've never had that happen to me. Yeah.
Huh? Why does he? Because he's seen other things or heard other things?
Well, Tom's house is very old.
Yeah, no. See, I like the characteristics of some old houses, but if I didn't know what had happened in that house,
I know
I would. Nope. I'm gonna have to get a new house, I think, or something, because I'm like, I don't know if I can deal with that. Because if I had any chance of thinking it would be like I said, like I don't know what I believe around these things, but if weird crap was happening, I'd be out of there.
I couldn't.
Nope. I won't even stay by myself. I won't do it.
Really?
Mm-mm.
What happens if Wes is out of town?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. That hasn't happened yet.
You need to stay at your in-laws?
Yeah. I will probably go stay with my in-laws. I don't, because I hear things when I'm by myself. I
when you're
specifically,
alone,
yeah.
we have a water heater that like
old houses make noises regardless.
And because our house is pretty old too, but
Yeah.
it's like boom, 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 boom. Like it sounds like someone's banging on something metal, but it's the water heater.
Right. Well, when you know what it is, and if
I didn't know what it was, and I was home alone the first time I saw or heard it, and I was playing Fortnite, and I was home alone, and I was like, hang on, I gotta go to the bathroom. And then I got up and I was like,
what is that? They're trying to break in.
In hindsight, I should have probably told, because I was playing with family, I should have probably told them,
I heard something.
It sounds like someone's in my house.
Yeah, no,
I
would be
call
like,
one of you?
That's what I'm like. I would need someone to come stay with me or something. Like, just because like I don't hear, like I obviously don't hear weird things, but like every time I hear like a creak or like something, the good thing though is like I live in apartments, so it's not as scary as being like, because like people make noise anyway in your apartments, and there are lots of other people around all the time, so it's not like I'm out in the middle of nowhere and you hear something that is definitely no explanation to.
Right. See, that's the thing. His house is in the middle of nowhere, and he's watched his house probably dozens of times, and nothing like this has happened. Well, and then we were talking about it. He came over and we were talking about it, and we were telling Marshall about it, and I was like, I'm not gonna lie, my first thought after you said it jumped on the roof was flesh pedestrian. But I didn't want to say that because I knew you were already thinking it. He goes, that was my first thought too. And so it's like, these things aren't real. But then like stuff like this happens and it's like, but are they?
But are they real? Yeah. Because if you don't know the explanation, and that's why I think I do like thrillers and things that will like something supernatural seems like it's happening, but then they like explain it afterward. Because then I'm like, ooh, it's actually something that just happened and it just seemed that way. However, sometimes there's no explanation. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Sometimes there is no explanation.
There's no natural explanation.
And we're going to learn about that.
Oh my gosh, am I going to be scared?
No, not really. That light is flickering. Oh, well, that's okay. We're going to learn about it today.
Don't say, am I going to be scared, and then look up in the corner.
I literally said the word, so I'm a little on edge.
Oh, gosh. Sheesh.
Anyways, okay. So, David Paulides, he was a former police officer, and he retired and is now an investigator. Literally, we have a bunch of neon signs in here with us, and one of them will not stop flickering.
I'm probably hitting it. All right, everyone, we have just experienced.
It's been wild. Anyways,
I don't know if you want to cut that out or you want to keep it, but that's pretty.
I'm gonna keep some of it. Yeah.
18 to 20 minutes, we had an experience.
Spooky
light experience.
Oh man, that was freaky.
It melted.
I'm not kidding you. It was like flickering behind you.
I think what you're saying about this house being a little old, like the outlets, there's some stuff going on.
We just replaced the outlets.
You just replaced them? But
yeah.
Remember you said the other one got really hot. This was really hot again. I think it melted.
Yeah, but we replaced it. I'm scared. Should I be talking about this?
Probably not.
Okay. Anyways, backing up a little bit. David Paulides was a former police officer, and he retired, and now he's an investigative writer. Ooh. He is mainly known for investigating Bigfoot and like Sasquatch and the missing 411, which is what we're talking about today.
I'm excited. I love the Bigfoot stuff too.
Maybe we'll have to do a
Maybe we'll have to do Bigfoot.
Maybe you can do a Bigfoot one.
Well, my brother is obsessed with it. We could have him as a guest.
Kevin or
David?
David.
Yeah.
Come on, David.
Yeah. He's been on a podcast before, I think. Yeah, about it.
Well, come on. He already knows what he's doing.
He already knows what he's doing. Come tell us about Bigfoot.
Yep.
He's got some wild ones about it. It's fun.
I would love to hear about it. So the missing 411, it stands for missing information.
Okay.
So there is a map. I'm sure many people have seen it. It is the state parks cave system and the missing person system. And David Paulides basically like compared the two, and you'll have to look it up. Just look up, you can look up like cave system map or cave system conspiracy or missing 411 map, and it'll come up, I promise. And it's like, the correlations are startling. It's like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Mm-hmm. And it's of the missing people in the U.S. It is important to note that this map covers people who go missing under mysterious circumstances, in quotes.
So this isn't like, so is it like people who are just like, oh, this person's missing? Like, you know, people they put signs up for, people who run away?
No.
Oh, okay. So
No.
this is different.
So that's what, there's some iffy stuff about it, and we'll get into that later at the end, but it doesn't actually cover everyone in the US who goes missing. It's just people who go missing under mysterious circumstances deemed by David Paulides, because he came up with this map.
Okay.
So whatever he deemed as a mysterious missing persons case, that went on the map. So it's not everyone, and everybody is like, oh my gosh, everybody goes, but like if you look, the major cities aren't really on there, and people go missing all the time.
That's what I was wondering when you were first telling me about it. I was like, is this just like anyone that goes missing, or is this like the creepies?
It's just the creepies.
Okay.
The creepies.
I don't know how to explain it. The creepies.
So he focuses mainly on the national parks. According to the National Parks Missing and Unidentified Persons System, 600,000 people go missing in the national park system every year, and tens of thousands of those people are never found.
I just got goosebumps.
Right? Oh,
that's a lot of people.
That's so many people. But if you have to think too, national parks are so
they're big. They're big.
They're big. They're mountainous. There's rivers. It's like any number of things can happen. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can't really, like, unfortunately, trigger warning, some people go out there to unalive themselves.
To disappear.
Some people want to, like you said, want to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Eek.
Yeah.
Oof. Well, because there's so much land,
you can just disappear. You're not going to be discovered by your loved ones. It is what it is. And it's very sad that people would get to that point. But so this like 600,000 people
That's
go
a lot of
missing.
people.
It's like not all of them are going to be spooky.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
some people probably just hiking or anything, just accidents, not like spooky. Like they have an accident.
Right. Like, and especially because we are going to talk about the cave systems a lot. There's so many crevasses that they can just fall down into that it's like, okay, nothing spooky happened there. They just took a misstep, which is why you have to be so careful when you go hiking. Mm-hmm. According to national parks, there are 4,500 caves in the national parks, and some span over 100 miles.
100 miles?
So even if you do, so it's like you do fall in.
How would you get out?
How would you get out?
And if you
don't
have
to
gear,
go for 100 miles. Exactly. And a lot of people are inexperienced, and they're just going for day hikes. So it's like,
and think about how many like people break bones and like if you don't have the gear, if you can't see, like because I've heard of people like falling, breaking their leg or something, and then you can't get out.
Wasn't there like a movie or something about like this guy who like,
I think so,
he got stuck in a national park and he had to like
cut his leg off? Is that the one we're talking about?
I think so.
Oh, yeah. Trigger warning there, but
yeah, I'm sorry.
We already warned that you guys at the beginning of this podcast. This is
yeah. So it's not all spooky, but also over 100 miles.
Yeah.
You can't possibly know what's down there.
No.
There's no way to document all of that. And that's just the ones that are discovered too. Like there's some that's probably undiscovered.
So no, I will not stay in my home by myself. I will not go hiking by myself.
And that's what the national parks very heavily advises. You do not go hiking alone. You do not go camping alone. Like if you're going to be staying here, do not do it alone.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. How suspicious it is that they're like, don't stay here by yourself. Because even like an experienced person can do that. Well, park rangers are not allowed to talk about what happens after dark in the national parks. Strictly not allowed to. They're not allowed to tell you what happens. And often they'll tell people, you don't want to be here after dark. You don't want to see what happens after dark. You don't want to know what happens after dark.
So what are they seeing after dark?
Exactly. What are they seeing? What are they hearing? So it really makes you think, what's going on out there? So it's a park ranger that actually first brought this to David Paulides' attention in the first place.
Did he know that he was like studying this stuff, or he knew that he was interested in like?
I think he knew his background with like Sasquatch and all of that.
He's like, you want to hear some crazy stuff?
He's like, well, he literally urged him. He was like, this is what's happening. These are the circumstances. Nobody's looking into it. Nobody's like looking for answers. Please look into it. Like, investigate this for us because it's an actual problem. We're not allowed to investigate it. Yeah. It's like nobody cares, basically. They're just like, oh, it's the wilderness. You know, it happens.
People are going out there getting lost every day, all day, whatever.
Just took a wrong turn. Yeah. That's all. Paulides asked for a list of missing persons in like the national park system. And he was told, we don't keep a list. We don't keep a record of that.
You don't keep a list?
There's no extensive, like, here's a list of all of these people. Here's all their information and stuff like that. I mean, they keep their files, but it's not, like, organized.
That's weird. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't they have to turn that into the authorities?
Well, yeah, but the national parks doesn't have it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they don't, like, when people are coming into the national parks, they don't keep record of who's, like, in there? It's just like, oh, go. I mean, it's just so many people that it's like, whatever.
You're encouraged to like check it. Like, for instance, there's a story about a guy who went missing and he was a solo camper and he was going to be there for a couple weeks. He told them, he was like, hey, just so you know, I'm solo. Right. I'm leaving on this date. Okay. I think it was like October 10th. He's like, I'm leaving on October 10th. And there was like 2 days before he was supposed to leave. His campsite was there, but it was disheveled and it was weird and he wasn't there and they couldn't find him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, so he was told, if you would like for there to be a list, you will have to pay for all the resources it's going to take.
Oh my gosh.
To like build one. I couldn't find if he did that. I think he might have, because other people were talking about how in the same conversation you'll be told there's not a list. And then it's thousands of dollars to access the list in the same conversation. So it's like, what are you doing? Like,
thousands of dollars.
Why would you tell me there's not a list if there is? And then turn around and tell me, like, you're going to say, oh no, that doesn't exist. You can't have access to it. And then turn around 5 minutes later and say, oh, well, it's thousands of dollars.
It's there. It's just a lot of money. So people just don't do it.
And it's like, why is it so much money?
Yeah. We're cursed. You mentioned some stuff at the beginning of this podcast.
We got lights flickering. We got cracking in our microphones and our headphones. It's...
Of course. We're just like...
Of course that's what
We're just creating this. We're just making it seem like it's real. No, these things are actually happening, guys.
We're like, what is going on?
What is going on? The light's flickering. I will say, when the light was flickering earlier, we found that it was burning the USB port that it was in.
The USB was like melting into...
Yeah.
The plug that it was in.
But very weird it happened today, of all days.
So strange, because that's been plugged in for like weeks.
Yeah.
And nothing's happened. It's not been on for weeks, but like it's been plugged in for weeks. I turn it off every night. There's no reason I literally turned it on 10 minutes before you got here. There's no reason it should be melting.
Yeah, it was that hot, like, already.
Wow.
Okay, so thousands of dollars to get this list.
Thousands of dollars to get this list.
Even when they just told him it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Does not seem shady.
So people are going missing. Nobody knows why. Even David Paulides himself is like, I think it was in 2021, he wrote a book. I can't remember the name of the book, but he basically stated in the book that he still didn't know what the cause of this was, but he was, quote, closing in on it, on suspects.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he doesn't know what's going on. There are some theories as to what's causing these.
Okay.
And that is Sasquatch. Sasquatch is big in the national parks.
Right. And if people have... The thing is, like, if Sasquatch is out there, like, have these park rangers... Is that what they're talking about when they say seeing things?
Well, I don't know, Hannah. I don't know.
The goosebumps.
Because to me, Sasquatch isn't scary.
Really? You said he's not scary, and yet he is causing... our headphones too.
I said Sasquatch isn't scary. Crackle, crackle, crackle.
Crackle, crackle, crackle. I think Sasquatch is scary.
Really? Like, I know he has like the power to be dangerous, but to me he seems like just a fun-loving, I'm just going to be out in the wilderness vibing and hiding from everybody.
But have you seen those old documentaries where it talks about him like carrying those 2 huge pigs and like ripping them open and not totally eating them all the way, but like destroying them in a way? It sounds so freaky.
Listen right now, Hannah. I'm going to need you to get your brother to do a Zoom meeting
right,
with us.
Do a Zoom call for this podcast.
And we're going to need to do a podcast on Sasquatch.
Because listen, like some and other people and like other... I know I'm getting sidetracked, but this is just like base knowledge that I know about Sasquatch. But like other people in different countries have been like, oh yeah, we've seen him standing on the outskirts of our village. He's whatever name that they call him.
Uh-huh.
And like, I know it depends what you believe in, but like the thing is that scares me about him is that he's not actually an animal. Like he's something people are seeing. That's what scares me about him. Like if he's just like a big gorilla type animal, I think gorillas are terrifying anyway. Like I think when you look at their eyes, like have you gotten to a zoo and like seen a gorilla look at you?
It's been a while, but yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think it's because there's something like humanoid-ish human about
Well, have you
face.
seen the videos of like gorillas? Like this, there's one in particular. This mom showed the gorilla her baby, and then the gorilla went and got her baby and showed it to the mom. It's like a connection.
They know.
That's
That's what I think are scary about them. Now, if he's just like some little animal out there that's just trying to live his life, like, leave him alone.
Yeah.
But anyway, could be Sasquatch.
Could be Sasquatch. Could be flesh pedestrians.
No.
It could be the military.
Ah, the fun one.
Ooh. Or it could be cannibals.
Oh, no.
Or mountain people.
Oh, no. Mm-hmm. Are we going to cannibalism again?
We're going to cannibalism again.
Okay. Tell me more.
Not in depth, but yeah. Okay, so according to Dan the Dingbat 21 on TikTok, he's the one who came up with, that I could find, the cannibal theory.
Okay.
That the cannibals are snatching people, basically.
Oh my gosh.
He said, I know you have all seen videos where they talk about cannibals being in the woods and they're just being feral people out in the woods, mountain people. And then he goes on to say, I kind of think there are communities of those people and they take people when they can.
Oh my gosh.
Which isn't hard to believe.
Okay, but it's not hard to believe, but like you're not allowed to live supposedly on a national park.
Well, but if
ground.
you have 100 miles worth of a cave to hide into, two park rangers can't really do anything about that.
That's true. Oh, living in the caves.
Mm-hmm. It's not like they can just go through the entire park and make sure everyone's out. It's kind of like honor system, basically.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's true.
It's not hard to believe, though.
No, not at all. That's what I'm saying. But I just didn't think,
You have 100 caves, 100 miles worth of cave. A park ranger's not going to be able to cover all of that. They're not able to get everybody out. It's kind of like honor system, like they can't go throughout the entire park. It's so big. A lot of these, it's a national park. It's huge.
Yeah. And like you said, caves, mountains, trees, they hide all these things. Like even when you do like searches or whatever, like that's why they can't find people because the ground drops off, like all this stuff. Oof.
When you hear stories about people like, oh, this girl and her dad hid in like the woods for ever, and then they found her and they were like, where do you live? And she's like, here. And they had to like hide from people. And like when campers got, I'm saying like do
it all the time.
And when campers got too like close to them, they would move. They would pack up and move further in. There's so much wilderness in the United States that it's, even if it's not a national park, you can still hide in it, So it's not completely unfounded that there could be a community of cannibals. Obviously, cannibalism it's pretty frowned upon in the U.S., you know?
Which is why they would be hiding in a community.
Right. And I saw this video, too, of this guy in a cave. It had nothing to do with this, but he explored a cave, and it basically has, like, its own weather system in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's, like, it's so big. There's a huge weather system in there. And you look at the entrance. He has a picture of the entrance, and there's people, like, camped out at the entrance of the cave, and the tents are just so tiny.
So it's huge.
So if you think about that, if there's an opening in one of these caves where there could be a community, and then, somebody's stumbling upon us, let's just snatch them. But that doesn't explain everything.
No. Go on.
There are instances of people, which I'll explain a little later, where it's like they're found miles from where they were last seen. And in the amount of time that it took to find them, there's no physical way that specific person could have gotten to where they are.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
like even by river or anything like that?
Even if something's no, because it's like they're 15 feet up on the cliff.
Oh.
River's not going to take you there.
Right.
You're a child. How'd you get 15 foot on this cliff? Because we had to rock climb to get to get you.
I'm getting goosebumps again, guys.
I know. I know. So not only are people found in places that they shouldn't have been able to get to, there's no way they could have, either they physically can't do it, or the amount of time versus the terrain that they would have had to go through just doesn't make sense. And they're completely unscathed. They look like they've been fed. Like children look like, oh, you've been missing for a week, but you've been fed. You've clearly been fed.
That's weird.
So it's like there's some instances, there's one case in particular that I'm going to talk about later, where they think, they're like, how did this kid get here? Maybe somebody or something carried him. Maybe they were lugging him. But then again, how did they get there so fast? Because he wasn't, that the time frame just doesn't add up.
For a human.
For a human.
Stop.
Like, so even if it, like, sure, cannibals, but how did they get there that quickly?
Yeah. How does that explain the, like, unhumanly supernatural?
Right. Which I guess, though, like, if they are
used to that kind of,
if they're living there, they're used to the terrain, they know, like,
maybe
for lack of a better term, shortcuts.
Yeah. Or go faster. And, you know, you're used to climbing. You're used to whatever.
Right.
Spoopy.
Yeah. And then another TikToker who I forgot their name. I'm so sorry if you're listening. The odds of that right now, not very high. But if you are, I'm sorry I forgot your name. Another TikToker found a correlation between the cave system map and the underground military bases.
No, stop.
And she reported, she was going through and she was like, here's the cave. Like, she also made a TikTok about like the cave system and the missing persons. And then she also had the cave system. And it's like the black spots are the cave system. The black lines are the trails of the underground military bases. And specifically on the what coast is California on?
Oh, the West Coast?
So on the western half.
Yeah, of the United States.
They lined up real well. Mm-hmm. And there's been, according to her, since January of this year.
This year? Like 2024? Stop.
This year.
No.
Yeah.
Not this year.
In January of this year, there's been such an influx of earthquakes in that area, which that area does have earthquakes. But she's like, there's so many more. And she was talking about like the past 30 days. There's been so many more
earthquakes.
Thank you. Yeah, earthquakes than there ever has been. And if you look at where those earthquakes are taking place, it's like right around the entrances or exits of these caves.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like, but then again, if you're in a cave on the West Coast and you stumble in and you see something you're not supposed to, hey, we can't have you out there telling all this stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of a theory, you know? So that's also part of the theory. Now, we're going to get to the ridiculous part.
Oh, I love the ridiculous stuff. Lay it on me.
I found a story.
Cut that out. But lay it on me.
Nope.
No, stop, please.
Nope.
Okay. Tell me more.
Okay, this one's ridiculous to me because I don't understand how they got there.
See, that's what I'm saying. Some of these are like well-founded and some are like, how did you get here?
How does this equal this? But the National Park Service at Mammoth Cave, Mammoth Cave Instagram posted a picture of Mammoth Cave, the opening of Mammoth Cave, and a banana sitting at the opening, and they used the banana to measure. They were like, it's so many thousand bananas high, you know? And it was like, oh, that's a fun, creative way to like, here's such an ordinary object that people can use, and like they know the size of a banana. They're all relatively the same size. And then it's like, oh, that's so funny. You're comparing the banana to Mammoth Cave. You know, it's just whatever. Yeah, it is what it is.
A fun little thing. But apparently not.
Well, this rabbit trailed. Okay, so there are reports that someone said there are hundreds of children who were recently released from a human trafficking ring in the cave system, in Mammoth Cave.
Because of the banana?
Because of the banana.
Okay. So explain this one to me, conspiracy theorists.
I don't even completely understand entirely, other than for some reason someone connected the banana to children.
Okay.
And I don't know now. I don't know if because Mammoth Cave is so large,
right,
that but it was my understanding Mammoth Cave was completely explored. But you never know.
Yeah.
But supposedly they were keeping the children in Mammoth Cave.
Okay.
And they've recently been released. And then suspiciously, they posted this banana, like time-wise, they posted this banana picture and they were like, the banana, like kids would eat that for a snack or something. I also heard a report that there was also monkeys released,
okay,
from like testing. Like there was like a lab down there.
So where'd they all go to? Like where'd all the children go to?
They were returned to their families. It was like a rescue operation. It was like we know that they're located here. We're going to go get them out type of a thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, this...
Yeah.
If you know more about this specific
the
theory, please let me know, because everything I was reading, I was like, how does a banana correlate to human trafficking?
And like, why didn't we not hear about this?
Well, exactly. That's part. There's so much we don't hear about in the news.
But if all these children return to their families, like, wouldn't their families say something? Well, unless they would get in trouble.
Unless they would get in trouble, or it's an embarrassing thing. You don't want your kid to have to live like that.
My kid disappeared, and my
kid was being human. Was in a human trafficking ring, and I don't know what trauma they've experienced. I don't want to expose them to more.
Right? Why would I expose
media
them to?
attention?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
okay, so that correlates.
Right.
That one. That one. My mind is not.
My mind. Yeah, my mind is a little blown there.
I'm a little confused.
Okay, so now we're gonna get into some cases.
Okay.
So, and I heard about these from the Mr. Ballin podcast YouTube channel, whatever you want to call it. He does a wonderful, wonderful job on the Missing 411. Though he still is posting Missing 411 videos, and the latest one I could find was like episode 21. But just search him up, Mr. Ballin, Missing 411. It'll pop up.
21 episodes. So there's a lot of information.
Yeah, and he does a really good job. So there was a 2-year-old who went missing. Mind you, he's 2 years old. Okay?
Okay.
Keep this in your head. They were near a national park. They weren't in a national park.
Okay.
Okay? But again, caves. You never know how they run.
Right. You never know where they go to. You never know
where they're going to connect to. They were at a family function. There was all kinds of adults at the party, and everybody... It was a case of, someone's watching him. There's so many adults here. Somebody's got eyes on him, He loved a cat. He loved, the family cat. He was trying to chase the cat around. Okay. Suddenly, the dad realizes, hey, I haven't seen him in a while. And he's, asking around. Yeah, I saw him. He was chasing the cat. He was chasing the cat. He was chasing the cat. Right? All of a sudden, he realizes, where was the last place he was?
Because I don't see him.
Chasing this cat. I can't find him. And he goes, hey, everybody stop. Can you help me find him for a second? They realize he's nowhere to be found. He immediately calls authorities. The dad does.
Right. Understandable.
They've got search dogs. They've got a search party. They're all out searching for the rest of the night. Like nothing's turning up. And then they are like, okay, I'm so sorry, but it's nighttime. We're not going to be able to find him. We're going to first light. We'll start back. I'm sure after what was a sleepless night for those parents.
They would not sleep. I would not sleep.
No, I mean, I would be like, okay, you go ahead. I'm gonna keep searching.
Right, I would keep looking.
But after, I'm sure what was a sleepless night, it was. They continued. They picked up, had search dogs, everything. Mm-hmm. There's a group of some people who were like, we're gonna search further away.
Right.
How could a 2-year-old have gotten that far? We don't know, but we're just going to search.
You never know, yeah.
You never know. Like if he was abducted,
if he got picked up,
if he got, you just don't know. So they start searching, and it's like marshland, basically. Like,
oh no.
Everything turns out okay, but it's marshland, okay? They've got their waders on so they don't get wet, and they're searching, they're trudging through it, and all of a sudden, the search dog picks up the scent, and so they start yelling out this kid's name, and then they wait a second, and they hear, I'm here. And then they turn a corner, and they're like, oh my gosh. And he's on this solid part of the land, just kind of clinging to a tree branch, I'm pretty sure. And so he's just like on the tree branch.
The 2-year-old.
A 2-year-old on the solid part of the land, surrounded by 3-foot deep water all the way around.
There's no way a 2-year-old kid.
2. He does not know how to swim.
He's not 3 foot tall.
These adults were wading through this water, this marshland, 3 feet deep.
Oh my gosh.
How could he have possibly gotten there? They're like, how'd you get over there? He goes, I don't know. I didn't. I was just chasing the cat.
That's weird. What do you mean you're just chasing the cat?
I was just chasing the cat.
But that could be a trauma response too. He could have forgotten.
It's true, but again, like, what did he see?
Forgot.
What was so traumatic to him?
Yeah, he forgot
that he had to forget it.
Yeah, like he could only remember chasing the cat.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Oh, goosebumps again, guys.
There is another report that I get. Again, our friend Nathan was telling me about. There was a child found. He went missing. I don't know how old he was. He was found 15 feet high, up in the air, on a cliff. And there was a branch wrapped around him.
A branch?
Yeah, which was keeping him safe. When the kid was found, he was asleep. He was just sleeping.
What the heck?
Like, they literally had to get, like, the rescuers had to get, like, the picks and, like, climb up. There's no other way to get up to this cliff. They had to climb up it. How did a little child get up there 15 feet in the air with a tree branch wrapped around him?
He didn't.
He literally, like,
how else? What?
Yeah, like, what was that? This one.
Oh no! You said this one gets me.
And I mainly only looked at the people who were found because I don't think that I could handle hearing about a child going missing. Because and
not being found.
Majority of the missing, like, never found are children, which is like they're
That's
snatching
so
them.
sad.
Yeah,
it's
what
so
do you
sad.
need them for? But there was a group of Boy Scouts. Troop, I think is what it's called, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Troops.
A troop.
Boy Scout
a troop
troops.
of Boy Scout.
We don't know.
They wanted to go. They went on a camping trip in a national park. Camping trip.
A camping trip.
It's
a fun little trick, everyone in the park system.
No, they went on a camping trip in a national parks. And this particular boy had really, really bad asthma. And he wasn't super, like, active because of it. Because, like, he had some health issues. And so the leaders, there was 2 leaders. One of them knew, hey, we got to keep an eye on this kid.
Yeah.
Because we need to make sure that if he is having an attack, we get him the help he needs to.
Right.
One of the leaders notices that this kid is not with the rest of the group. Oh my God. And he's like, oh, maybe he fell behind. I'm going to backtrack a little bit.
Right.
Maybe he was just needed some time to catch his breath. Whatever. He backtracks. He doesn't find him. You know about how far you've walked since the last time you saw this kid.
Oh, yeah.
So he backtracks. He doesn't find him. He comes back. He's like, he's not there. They immediately call the authorities.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing, too, is, like, it's immediate. So the fact that they're not able to find these people immediately is, like...
Like, how could they have wandered off that fast?
A dog sent, like, a tracker can't, like...
Immediately find it.
Immediately catch the scent and be like, let's go.
Yeah.
Okay? So they immediately called the authorities. They were there, like, as fast as possible. They're camping. They're hiking in the woods. So it's going to take a little bit longer. But, like, they find him. They called the authorities. And then they brought the dogs, obviously.
Right.
And they gave him a scent. And they tracked this kid 6 miles away.
A kid with asthma.
That
had just been missing.
That just went missing. And the time it took them to get the 6 miles was not enough time to get there. 6 miles away. I should say, sorry, I misspoke. They tracked his scent 6 miles away.
6 miles, like, out. So they found his scent.
6 miles away from his last known location.
Okay, so they found his scent. That's when they found it. Or
they
that's
tracked it to.
Okay.
The guy who was, like, working with the dog was like, oh, he messed up. Like, here, let's reintroduce the scent, whatever. Dog sniffs around a little bit and is right back at the same spot. He's like, no, he's here. I'm not defective. He's here.
Right.
This is the scent. This is the trail. They're like, 6 miles? What in the world?
Right.
They keep looking. They're looking overnight. Like, they keep going and they're tracking and they're tracking and they're tracking. They do not find this kid.
Oh my god.
They do not find him. And then all of a sudden, they get a call. He's been found. Where was he found? How far away was he found? 30 miles away.
Nuh-uh.
This kid with asthma and other health issues was found 30 miles away.
How? I mean, I know that's what we're discussing, but how?
I don't know. He was found by another boy riding on his horse.
What?
Yeah, and he just kind of like walked out of the woods. And he was like, how'd you get here, dude? Like, what's going on, you know? The kicker, Hannah, is it was not even 48 hours later. How does a child with asthma and other health issues travel 30 miles away on his own, not being familiar with the terrain?
Through forest,
through the mountain, like 30 miles away in less than 48 hours.
Yeah, not possible.
This is another instance where, like, detectives were like, was he carried? Was he, like, was somebody trying to take him? Was he carried? Did he get away? He was found by a kid on a horse, and he just walked out, and he was like, what the heck? Like, what are you doing here, you know? And he was like, I don't know. And then when the detectives asked him, how did you get so far away? How did you do that and not, like, have an asthma attack and die, basically? And he was like, well, you know, I didn't. And they were like, what? You were found 30 miles away? He goes, well, I fell asleep under a tree branch, and I kept waking up, and there kept being, like, animals that were, like, peeking out and, like, looking at me. I don't know.
What?
So they kept being animals that would peek out and look at me, and I was like, okay. So I just went back to sleep, and then I would wake up under the tree, and then I'd go back to sleep, and I'd wake up under a tree.
My gosh.
And then I woke up, and I was here.
It sounds like he was under the influence of like he got drugged or something.
Doesn't it?
Right? Doesn't it? Like, what animal is peeking out at you?
What animal? Were they wearing animal masks?
Yeah.
Was it cannibals?
Oh my gosh.
Surely not.
Was it
Sasquatch?
Carrying him?
Literally, though, like, because
that's what I wonder. Like, if Sasquatch is a type of gorilla, like, would they like see a child and like would they take care of it? Because gorillas have been known to do that.
Well, I think there are like even cases of Sasquatch like snatching children.
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps again. You said they weren't scary, Felina. I'm scared of them.
I know.
Okay. Oh my gosh. And so this is a Boy Scout. So he's old enough to like recall things and be like, oh, I don't know. Like, so it's weird to me that he doesn't even know what happened. I mean, like I said, trauma can do that, but it's like he was remembering pieces of it.
And you wonder too, maybe he did fall behind because he was like, okay, I got to catch my breath. And then he fell asleep under a tree and then got carried. And then kidnapped. He was suppressing that and like, but we can't know. But what else is out there? Maybe he was being carried by flesh pedestrian, Sasquatch,
whatever,
mountain men in animal masks, you know? Like,
yeah, this is true.
You never know. Even if people aren't found, like even if they're like, oh, they don't just pop up in places they couldn't have gotten to, it's like items that belong to them will pop up hundreds of miles away. Okay. So like their sneakers are hundreds of miles away. And it's like, how did they get? And then like they find that in an amount of time where it doesn't make sense for that item to get
like
there.
Super fast.
Yeah. I know. It's wild.
Goosebumps.
Now, some important to note things.
Okay.
Specifically concerning the map.
Right.
It's real data. It is real data on the map. However, it doesn't show all of the data. Like I said before, it doesn't show the cities.
Right.
It's not showing this. So, but he's presenting it in a way where it's like all of the missing people in the U.S. That's not what it is. Or I guess he's not presenting it that way. That's how it's being misconstrued. That's not what it is. It's the people found in the national parks. That's it. Not only that, but it's also only, like I said before, only the mysterious circumstances. It's not, oh, this kid ran away. We know this kid ran away.
Right.
We're not going to put him on the map. And it's It's what he deems mysterious
Right.
circumstances. This is what really... this is where my doubt really comes into play.
Okay.
Do I think people go missing in the national parks?
Yeah.
Do I think there's spooky, ooky stuff living in those caves? Absolutely.
Right.
However, it's skewed by this map now.
Right.
In the sense that this is like the main piece of evidence people use now. It's like, well, but look at the map. But look at the map. It's reported that Paulides, if you look at the map, there are black dots on the map. Okay. And we'll post it on our Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
With this episode so you guys can look at it. But there's black dots on, there's like the top map, the missing persons map. Okay. There's like all these dots, and then there's black dots. Okay. Apparently, Paulides added the black dots onto the map himself. Okay. Mm. And if you take the black dots away, the correlation, like on the map, you can see the shape. Yeah. There, you can follow the same shape. Right. If you take the black dots away, the shape is gone. It's just like, here's a cluster, here's a cluster, here's a cluster. So it doesn't, like, yes, it correlates to a certain extent, but it not nearly without the black dots. Okay. So that's kind of that's a little bit like, okay, like, are we stretching it like a little bit, or yeah. Yeah. Well, and nobody knows that he added the black dots. Oh. They see it in their, like, how it's presented to them is, here it is. Boom. Right. I didn't even know that he added the black dots until, like, the end of my research process. And I was like, what? You're like, no. That discounts everything. Like, not really, because you live through what you live through. You have the trauma you have. You experience what you experience. There's obviously some validity to it, because, I mean, so many people, it wouldn't be such a big thing. Yeah. Like, there's so many mysterious, like, happenings during these, like, when they go missing. Yeah. So there's something going on. That's all we know. Yep. Holy crap. I know. So that's what I got for you. Now I'm like spooked. I'm spooked. I'm glad I don't live near a national park. That's all I can say. You do live near Mammoth Cave, though. That's true. Actually, I'm sorry, Mom, but my mom pooped her pants in Mammoth Cave. Oh my gosh. We're going to have to... You're going to have to get her written permission to post that. She tells everybody she meets. So the whole world can know now. So she also does not have fond memories of Mammoth Cave. So, not at all. So Mammoth Cave is a no-go for our family. Yeah, that's understandable. I think especially after your research, I wouldn't be... Do I think that there was human trafficking? Not necessarily. Yeah. If there's a chance there was, do I want to be snatched? No. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's enough, like, overlap of things that it's spooky enough. But then there's also are they just wanting this to be true? But why would they want it to be true? I don't know. Conspiracy theories, I mean... Well, but then again, there's like how could a human person do this to all of them? It must be Sasquatch. It must be... Right. Alien, flesh production, like... People get messed up, let me tell you. Yeah. And it could be... I was even telling Wes about this a little bit. Like, I just said, okay, this is her subject. And he goes, serial killers. I'm like, I mean, serial killers, their thought process, you don't understand. I mean... Especially if you said that, like, if they're doing illegal crap, like cannibalism or anything like that. Like, you don't... It's hard for... sane people to understand. Well, and that's the thing. I don't understand it. Why would someone do that? A national park is like the perfect place to dump a body. You never get 100%. Like, who's gonna find it? Oh, they got mauled by a bear. Yeah, like a bear. They fell. That's what I'm saying. Like, there are so many excuses and natural causes that could make that person. Well, not to mention the animals too. Yeah. Like, oh, here's a dead body. Let me just eat on it. All that's your evidence too. Like, the animals could eat it. Yeah. And then your evidence is like, oh well. Looks like a bear attack, or even if you can tell that that's not what it was, you can't really conclusively tell what it was because of the animals. What gets me the most is if you're allowed to go solo camping, okay, and people know that people are going out for nights and nights, why can't their park rangers talk about what happens at night? I think they probably just don't want their park rangers they still want people to come to the parks.
Yeah.
They don't want the park rangers instilling fear in people.
Yeah.
But it's like if some spooky
but you need
stuff
to,
is
if
happening,
you're gonna be out there, you need to know what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, listen, don't come here unless you're well aware that this is happening. That's why it's like, that's weird to me.
Well,
I don't know.
It is, national parks is run by our government, so
you heard it here, folks.
we have some opinions on the government.
This is how conspiracy theories start, Felina.
Literally.
That's all I'm saying. The reason why people so often believe in conspiracy theories is that they don't have trust for the people in charge. And that's all.
And should they?
And should they? Dun dun dun. Our next topic. No. All right. Well, this has given me goosebumps, and
yeah, I hope it's given you goosebumps too.
It will probably make me like.
If you have any fun little stories or spooky stories based off the national park or your own experiences, we'd love to hear about it at lattespodcast@gmail.com, or once we get our Instagram up, you can contact us there as well. And it should be Lattes on My Mind. All lowercase, all one word.
Yep. Yeah, so like and subscribe this podcast on Spotify as well. It helps us out.
Yes, please.
And keeps our will going.
Hold us accountable.
Hold us accountable.
Thank you for listening.
Don't get snatched.
Don't get snatched.
In the bad sense, don't get snatched.